Hello and welcome, everybody. It's Stuart Mitchell here from Catch the Mice. I just wanted to thank you, Stas, for that great introduction and for your first session at today's A2Z 2022 London Virtual Showcase. I have to say I share exactly the same thoughts as you regarding hybrid. And also, I think that's probably why we're on the same level completely, looking at the future of event technology and how it's going to develop yet further very, very rapidly over the coming years. So thank you for letting me join you today. Thoroughly over the moon to be here. Second time on the A2Z platform. First time was obviously last year, 2021. So thank you very much for allowing me to join you today. So my session, I'm just going to share my screen. My session this afternoon is really all about the future of events post-COVID or post-dramatic change in our industry. COVID has been such a change for everything globally, but it's affected our sector significantly, and obviously that's why we're here today. So I wanted to just give you a bit of an overview, really, a little bit about me personally. I'm not going to I could talk about me for all day, but I'm not going to do that. But basically, I've been in the live events and the event sector all my career. I actually started in electronic engineering, so it's nice to be back in the tech world, as it were. So I started my degree in technology, but basically straight out of university and all the way through to this point. Now I have been an eventer through and through. So a broad spectrum of experiences, having worked at the Oval Cricket Ground, been part of the senior management team at Wembley Stadium, managed GMEX up in Manchester, global or UK national ops director, and run events globally. More recently, I've promoted privately owned hotels across the world and consulted for hotels. And now I'm an introducer, and I have been for the best part of 10 years. But when COVID hit, I changed my track completely and went into the virtual world and partnered with a small number of event platforms, of which VII Events is one of them. And we are Stas and the team's strategic partner here in the UK. Catch the Mice look after business development and help with customer care and customer service in the UK. So any inquiries you have, maybe after this presentation, please give myself or the team a shout. Please engage with us during this virtual event. It is all about engagement. I'll try and answer some questions as we go along, but if I don't, put them in the chat and I'll come back to you and I'll chat with you later on the chat, but also put them in, drop me a line, and we'll try and catch up later on today. Or alternatively, go into the Explore London, because the team have developed, VII have developed an amazing virtual London. Go into that huge glass dome where all the sponsors are, click on the Catch the Mice exhibition stand and book a calendar link with me or any of the team, and have a look at what we do and catch up then. The other thing to do is, of course, link in with me on LinkedIn. So there's a little bit of things which we can do to connect and engage. I have been around a long, long time and seen a lot of change in the industry during my career. And I wanted to really kind of focus today on what Event-Utopia does look like. And can we actually reach that nirvana, that Shangri-La of events delivery in a post-COVID world? And more importantly, can we ever get there? We're all striving for something better. Everyone's looking for something different. But whether different is better is questionable a lot of the time. And I just want to explore some of those concepts. Please, again, put in some comments in the comments in the chat function, and I'll try and come back to you when I can. Okay. So we have a couple of once-in-a-generation events that stick out like a sore thumb, really, for me in the last couple of generations, really. In mid noughties, 2008, we had the financial crash. That may not have seemed to the events industry, those people out of the events industry, as a big deal. But it was. Pre-2008, we could pretty much run an event and everyone would come to it. It was a fun party. You were allowed to, at pharmaceutical events, we're allowed to go to 5-star hotels, go to beautiful spas, do amazing drink celebrations, and no one batted an eyelid or asked any questions. The financial crash came, and everyone pointed the fingers at the bankers, and a lot of companies that were going out on what were, in effect, really nice jollies, but they were amazing for the events industry. So the fallout of the 2008-9 crash were a number of things. We saw a lot more control and scrutiny about how people delivered events, whether they were live. Actually, they were all live at that stage, very few virtual events. But there was scrutiny about it. If you did an outlandish event where you had a Michelin star meal and a trip to the golf course afterwards, there was scrutiny about it. The press were all over it. They wanted to hound down those people that were having jollies at beautiful 5-star boutique bespoke hotels and things like that. Then came the budgetary controls. Everything was all about return on investment. It was about controlling costs, making sure the financial crash didn't happen, and scrutinizing whether these were lavish events or perceived as lavish events. As a result, a lot of the big corporates developed their own in-house events facilities. Incredible event facilities with state-of-the-art audiovisual equipment, state-of-the-art video conferencing, and on top of that, amazing hospitality within their events arenas as well. So a lot of events went in-house. A lot of event agencies started adding their services within in-house and became in-house event managers as well as external event managers. Incentives took a battering. You couldn't be seen to be having a bit of a jolly out with a team, even though it may have actually been a very cost-effective thing to do. It was perceived as not the thing to do. So that happened. That slightly has diluted a lot over the last decade since the financial crash. But at the time, those are old enough to remember it, there was a growing movement in CSR, corporate social responsibility, and everyone was asking for everyone's CSR policy. That kind of fell off a cliff as well. It was all about finance and budget. It's nice to see there is an ethical element coming back following the 2020 pandemic hit. So basically, event planning as an event organizer became a lot harder. It became a lot more difficult to run events. You had to justify everything you were doing. It was scrutinized heavily. And as a result, a lot of the events that were delivered became a little bit, I'm not going to say mundane, but they became a little bit more conservative in what they did and a little less fun. And those jollies weren't out there so much. And everything was business focused and about return on investment. Over the last 13, 14 years, that has, as I said, diluted a little bit, and we were getting back to an element of the good old days when, of course, COVID hit, which actually scuppered everything completely. It changed my business. I was representing privately owned hotels and venues and destinations all over the world and promoting to that huge database I'd generated over the last 30 years, 25 years, 30 years, and that all stopped overnight. So as a result, I changed completely, hence working with Stas and the team, and a lot of people have changed. So we are now in a new world for events. We are completely different. It is not what it was, and it is not going back to what it used to be. Business patterns have changed. You can't use last year's or even the years before's business patterns to budget for this year or for next year. It's really difficult. Your database has gone. Everyone's moved jobs. Everyone's quit their jobs. They've gone out to find their own nirvana or their own utopia of work-life balance. Global travel remains challenging. Approval for any travel will continue to be highly scrutinized. And of course, resource within our sector is extremely difficult to come by because everyone's left our sector. So I think it's going to be a challenging uphill battle over the next couple of years when we re-recruit or we get new blood into the industry. And I've been mentoring some students at various universities to coming into this industry, and I continue to do that because it's something which I believe the new blood is really important to bring a new vitality into our sector. The question, virtual or not to virtual, I know that sounds daft when we're all on a virtual event, but there are still a lot of event managers that actually haven't dipped their toe in virtual events. And it will continue. It's not going away. The virus keeps coming up and then going away and then coming back again and haunting us. And we are going to have a virtual solution of some sort. And again, that's something which I'm very passionate about, to try and do some good in the industry and help the industry rebuild and build back better. So I'm also helping and mentoring people to, and my team are to dip their toe into this dark art of virtual. Certainly, uncertainty is certain, and the confidence that we have in when things will get back to the new normal is difficult. Stas mentioned about hybrid, and I don't think he'll mind actually me letting it out of the bag, but we were going to have the live element a bit sooner, but unfortunately Stas and the team can't travel out of Israel at the moment, so we've had to push it back a little bit. And that's why I'm really pleased that we changed. Well, we went with the option of having a virtual element and an in-person element rather than a jointly kind of hybrid sort of setup. So I think hybrid is better done at different times, and this is a perfect example of it. No, I'm very pleased that we did that. So Event-Utopia, there it is, that kind of visionary golden universe that we're all aspiring to try and get to. Is it just a little wander across those clouds up through those gates and find that Event-Utopia, or really is it going to be a little bit different? I'm hoping it's going to be a land of milk and honey, and I think most people that are in the live events sector will also agree with that. There is a pent-up need for it, and is ever going to start chinging in those pounds and making up for the lost revenue that we've lost over the last 2-3 years. It's going to be an interesting time, and it's also going to be a very busy time with minimal resources, I mentioned. But also, I think the dark clouds are coming again, and there are going to be a lot of pitfalls on the way. And I think that's something we all need to be aware of, about how we get to where we need to get to. So I guess, what do we know at the present? And it's best to probably build on what we do know at the present. There's 100%, there's a pent-up desire to meet in person. Everyone you speak to wants to get together and actually shake hands, have a beer or a glass of something over a table and chat with family and friends and colleagues. Most people are now working still at home, and I don't think that's going to change. We are going to continue with a remote workforce, and getting together is going to be vitally important. Budgets, actually, bizarrely enough, are flexible. You only have to look at Christmas parties. Christmas parties were actually up by almost 100, between 50 and 100% on terms of, not in terms of numbers, but in terms of cost per head in previous years. There wasn't really a question of what you were going to pay for your Christmas party. Let's just have a Christmas party. So I think a lot of corporates have got good budgets to spend, but will be cautious how they spend it. And especially with this kind of hybrid sort of question that's hanging in the air, how do we do that? If you do it simultaneously, it's super expensive. You need huge amount of production. You need two kind of event teams to manage two elements, and also you need to prepare content beforehand and deliver it in a way that is consumable to those virtual audiences. And I hope you enjoy this short little session here. And that's what people will want: little short consumable sessions. Ethics and sustainability are high on the agenda, and those will continue. Employees, though, are in the driving seat, and that's going to be an interesting one to watch and see where the employee and the employer battle wages out. There's fatigue in boring Zoom events. Absolutely, I completely agree with it. It needs to be engaging. It needs to be fun. It needs to be entertaining. It needs to be, as I've said there, essential in actually delivering engagement. And the other thing is making sure you market these events correctly. Otherwise, it's all very well having a good virtual event or a good in-person event, but if you don't get anyone there, there's no return on investment. So my top 10 predictions to approach that Event-Utopia, or to get to the signpost of Event-Utopia, is to plan for more events, but smaller in-person events, probably within the domestic market to start with, and then with some regional elements, but larger events in a global sort of setup, I think will be, I'm not going to say they've had a day, because I don't think they have, but they will definitely be fewer and further between. Because I think you should plan for more smaller events in person, COVID safe, and lots of gets together. These could be regional hubs around the UK, regional hubs around Europe, regional hubs around your region, and then brought together in a virtual environment as well. There is definitely going to be a need for more outdoor space. You only have to look at the pubs and restaurants. They're already capitalizing on that. And I think this may dictate the destinations where people host events in the future. I think we've got to get, here in the UK, we've got to get cleverer about using outdoor space, but making sure as an event planner, you have contingencies for wet weather provision. So you need to have that balance. And that's why I think the destinations in the sun may thrive over the next 18 months or so. Due diligence, making sure we don't poison the board, we don't get anyone catching COVID. It's not going to be impossible to do this, but due diligence is going to be absolutely important. And more important, perception of due diligence is also important. I think I was at IBTM last in November, December, I can't remember, just on the cusp. And we were at a club. We went clubbing. It was fantastic to be in an environment clubbing, but everyone was lateral flow test. Everyone was COVID safe. And it was, if someone had taken a photograph, that it may have been perceived as being stupid to do, but it was a safe environment. So I think perception is important. We need to make sure we have a virtual solution in our overall event strategy. I think that's absolutely essential. I would be saying that because I promote virtual events platforms, but also it's important to have a robust one that is in tune with what you and your clients need. So make sure you've got a strong virtual event solution as part of your overall event strategy. It's super important. Digital marketeers, they're going to be the new rock gods. They are going to be the rock stars that make sure everything we capitalize on all that investment in our events. Influencers, you only have to look at what's happened over the last 2 years during COVID, how the power of influence has taken over. Networking and collaboration, I think we're seeing that today at today's event. We've got some amazing collaborators at today's event, and networking is absolutely important. It's going to be those in-person connections, because your database is gone. We need to ensure events are fast, fun, engaging, and overall ethical. Employees and clients will definitely influence and police your company policy on how you do your events. They will be watching, they will be commenting, and they'll be tweeting and telling you if you're not ethical. We need to identify those, maybe they are the key stakeholders, but whoever the key stakeholders are, we need to focus on them. And more importantly, we need a bit of good news. You need to share your success as event organizers. We need to share our success as event platforms and show what good is and what utopial events are. So think creative and be fearless. It's really important. So I said last year, my presentation at A2Z 2021 was the year to throw away the rule book, which I did, and I changed completely, and now I'm working with event platforms. Now is the time to strive for something completely different and far better. And I think we need to build on our experiences and look at what we can do to build back better. And it's this where I wind up now, and looking at my 20 minutes is gone. Thank you, VII Events and Stas and the team for your help and continued support. If anyone wants to see me later on, come on over to the booth and come and see me in the virtual promotions area in St James's Park. DM me on the messages or drop me a line on LinkedIn. Now I'm going to leave, but before I do, I wanted to show you these. These are the 2 awards that VII Events won in the UK, well, last year actually now. And we're over the moon. We're going to hopefully get a few more this year. But I just wanted to show you those in person. I know you can go on and see them virtually and see this lunatic winning them and collecting them on behalf of VII Events. But let me hand over to Shai Palad. Shai Palad is the Learning Business Partner for Amdocs, which is a client of VII Events. He's a customer of theirs, and they have developed an amazing onboarding induction program, which utilizes the VII platforms. So I'm going to hand over to Shai to tell you a little bit more what they did and how it's working at the moment. Over to you, and hope to see you soon. Come, make sure you connect later on online. Take care. Bye.